Today, Foxfield and its new leadership ride into a new era, supporting long-term community partnerships, engaging attendance in inclusive ways, and improving the spectator experience. Foxfield welcomes you as we continue to race each fall and spring. Decades of memories have been made on this track. Come and see what new memories we can make together at Foxfield.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Thursday night Jump Into Racing. We are excited to have you. I have two awesome guests, one new face that you have not seen on here, and then one old, just that we've seen him before, but you're still young, Steve. Yeah. We've got Steve Coxon over here. She is in charge of Foxfield this weekend, so we're really excited to bring her on, get some inside information at the event, and kick off Foxfield Spring, which is bigger than what we had in the fall. So we're pumped. Kelsey, how are we doing tonight?
We are good. I was just racing around with my new Foxfield hat on, luckily, before the rain comes in, but it'll make for a nice turf, which will be fantastic. We're excited to have everyone out.
Yep. So I'm learning a little bit about steeplechase here and there. So I did check the weather, and with the rain coming, I was like, oh, that'll be great. That'll be great for Saturday. So Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Bri. How are you?
Good. I'm excited. I'm heading out to Virginia tomorrow. You haven't been to any of these yet, Steve, have you?
No, unfortunately, I'm still in my soccer world. Saturday is my last day, and I get to escape, and I go down to the racetrack. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. Well, we'll be seeing you out to one of these. And again, we're here because we have a StableDuel contest this Saturday at Foxfield, free to play, $2,000 paid out to the top 25. We did it last weekend. It was a huge success, and we're excited to roll it on bigger and better at Foxfield this weekend, which is in Charlottesville, Virginia. If you do not know, what are you excited about this year for the spring races at Foxfield, Kelsey?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just we're excited to have StableDuel. Oh my gosh, we had them in the fall, and we are so happy to have. We have our two races. So October is a little bit smaller, and then we have our spring races. So it just brings a whole other group of attendees, and so excited to introduce StableDuel to them and see what they can do. I think the biggest piece here at Foxfield, we're just constantly thinking about how it's somebody's first race and it's maybe somebody's 100th race. Mm-hmm. And we want to continue to open up those opportunities for people to learn about steeplechase. And I think StableDuel does that. We're interacting with the horses. We're learning about the riders. We're actually realizing how important for Foxfield, we need steeplechase. We need to run these races. So we're really excited for this opportunity for people to actually learn and realize more about steeplechase.
Yep. And we posted some of the horses that are running this Saturday on the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook channel for StableDuel. We'll throw up those pictures too, so you have a visual when you are building your stable. We also have the entries as well. If you have not played StableDuel and you're tuning in for the first time, it's very similar to a fantasy football format. So you're purchasing a team or a stable of horses, and you're competing against others. So you need 10 horses in your stable. It's got to be submitted before first post because the game goes all day for all the races, which there are 6 on Saturday, which is great. So your 10 horses submitted will compete against other people's 10 horses. So you can play against your buddies, have the side bets, shot of bourbon for whoever loses that race sort of thing. It'll be fun on track and off, and you can start building your stable right now in the app. We had over 500 stables last weekend at Middleburg. We expect it to be bigger and better at Foxfield as we continue to roll weekend to weekend. We have not one, but 2 contests next week with the Virginia Gold Cup on Saturday, which is a huge race. And then we have Winterthur Point to Point, I think I said that right, on Sunday. So you've got next week as well, but Foxfield is the focus, and we are super pumped. And shortly, we are going to bring on actually the winner of last weekend's contest, Matthew. So Matthew DeSantis had the top stable and won $500 of the $2,000 prize. And we're bringing him in so that we can pick his brain, get his tips. So if you're playing for the first time or second, you're going to hear from a seasoned StableDuel player, as well as the winner of steeplechase, which is quite a feat, if I say so myself. So yeah, but I'm pumped. We're going to talk about, see if he had Snap Decision. Did you think Snap Decision was going to do it, Steve, last weekend?
I did. It was probably my only winner of the day, actually. That's what I did at StableDuel.
So your StableDuel didn't win?
I can't wait to pick Matthew's brain because I don't know how he did it, to be honest. Yeah, Snap Decision was fantastic. He kind of ended the season on a bit of a lull last year, and everyone was kind of waiting to see what Snap Decision turned out. And it was the real deal was back. He gave everybody 18 pounds and an absolute thumping, including my two horses. We'll bring Kerry in to have a little inquisition about the running of Ash Paddington and Going Country last week. But yeah, Snap was back to his best, and he shows that he's probably the best steeplechaser around over hurdles this year.
Yeah, I saw Carrie after the races, and I would tread lightly, Steve, asking her about her day. Okay.
I'm waiting until Thursday. I learned that lesson.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll bring Matthew Stable up here to talk a little bit about it before he gets on. But this is his winning stable from last weekend. So you can see if you're looking at this for the first time, this is what your stable will look like after the points come in for each horse. So you get points awarded for each horse that runs. You really want to win. So it's very hard to pick 10 winners here. Or be as close to the winner as possible, because you can get points taken away by lengths beaten by. So you see that negative 10.75. That means that horse, whatever place that it finished, but it was 10 point, well, actually, I don't know what place it finished, but whatever lengths far back from the winning horse, it ended up getting negative 10.75. So maximum negative is 20. So even if the horse finishes off the board 50 lengths behind the winner, you're only getting negative 20, so you're not completely out of the game, which you can see you can get negative and still get first place. So you see the 60.25, that's a winning horse. Snap Decision, he had, of course he did. 63.75, Mission Brief here, 60.25. I remember that horse only cost him $3,000 in the app. So cheaper horses can win. That is the strategy here. And then you can continue, it goes on. So he looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. He did pick 5 winners on the card, and the 38.25 is definitely a second place horse, and Mystic Strike is definitely a second place horse. So he did pretty dang good for his steeplechase that day and pulled out 430.4 points to win the $500 top prize. But I guess we better stop talking about him and just bring him on here. What's up, Matthew? How you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And yeah, Blind Squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, and was able to put together a pretty nice stable there last weekend, and looking forward to trying to put the puzzle together again this weekend.
Well, I know. Yeah.
Before you start, I know that's not true, because I asked Bri before the race, give me 2 StableDuel people to talk to, and you were one of them. And of course, you went and won the competition. So we know this isn't all luck, Matthew.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, I love playing StableDuel, and I think playing StableDuel and handicapping and like betting sometimes can be 2 different things. And I think people who are used to just kind of pari-mutuel wagering sometimes struggle when they first come over to StableDuel, because they're constantly trying to get a winner. And I think sometimes that's a misguided attempt in StableDuel, because you're getting significant points for horses that are finishing second, third, and even fourth. And so you don't need to pick a winner in every single race. And sometimes picking a $1,000 horse that finishes fourth is actually a really good return on investment from a point standpoint. So it just is a different mindset, as opposed to I'm going to try to get a winner. And sometimes that takes you into like boom or bust territory. And suddenly you see those red numbers pop up on your card, and nobody likes to see that on StableDuel.
Are you following live after you've entered all of your horses?
Oh,
or are you
absolutely.
checking in later?
No, like a madman. I'm checking in like every second. I'm a crazy person. I'm at work in meetings, and I'm like pulling up. I'm like, who won the 3rd race at Parks? And I'm trying to follow along as much as I can.
Awesome.
There are some days where I do like to kind of the old Ron Popeil line, set it and forget it. I do like to kind of just, put it in and then just kind of try to go off and do something else. I think I was like that for the Florida Derby day, maybe, where I was
There's a day that you had high anxiety that you were like, I can't even check.
Right. No, I can't even check. And so there are some days like that. I can be that sort of neurotic sports fan occasionally, but no, I think it's fun to just, to check. And, then, you always sit there and you watch the race, and then like the gates open and your horse blows the brake and you're like, you immediately just flip out and, all your plans go up in smoke. But yeah, I love following along. And now with the new StableDuel app, it's great to be able to follow along in the app with the races.
Well, I need lots of tips. I finished like 100. So what else can you tell me? Because I feel like maybe I am looking and chasing for that name. Are you looking at jockeys? Are you looking at trainers? What are you doing?
So a couple of things. One,
colors? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't look at colors, although I do have a favorite saddle pad, but that's a secret. And so it's not really a secret. It's the number 6. I like the black and gold saddle pads.
That was easy. We didn't even have to tickle it out.
No, I fold under questioning all the time. But there's a couple of things. So for instance, this coming week, the race number 4, I think is a really interesting race to attack from a StableDuel standpoint. There's only 5 horses in the race. So from a point standpoint, now there's one horse that's a huge favorite. So one of the things I like to do here, and Bri can attest to this because this is something I used to do up in Assiniboia a lot, is I go high and low. I'll probably use the 4 and I'll use the 2. And so if I'm going to use a really expensive horse in a race, then I'm going to balance that horse out with probably the least expensive horse in the race. That horse is going to get, even if that horse finishes last, he's going to get 10 points. He's going to get that 5th place point. So you're kind of trying to avoid those negative numbers, and you're trying to maybe catch an exacta. Maybe you can try to catch, 1st and 3rd. But for only $3,000, Bafo Kid is a nice investment because you really only need him to finish 4th or 3rd, and you're getting a huge return on investment. So that's kind of one of those examples of how I like to attack kind of smaller field races and use multiple horses in those races rather than a 10 or 12 horse field and you try to pick 2. Good luck with that. I mean, that's kind of like trying to do that at Keeneland sometimes, and you're just like, oh, I don't know where my horses are going to finish. So that's certainly one. I do look, because this is kind of the start of the steeplechase season in a lot of ways, I do also look at a lot of horses second back from a long layoff. That's something, an angle I always play, whether talking about flat racing or jumps. So a lot of these horses you'd seen last time out was November, or something like that. Maybe they were down in Aiken and kind of had that first time back, knock some rust off. Now, second time back, I'm going to use that horse. Even a horse like last week, Mr. Connecticut, was second time running over the jumps. And so I thought, okay, he's going to get a better sense of what he needs to do. He's going to get a better sense of his job, that sort of thing. And you saw progression there.
So it sounds like you'll have a lot of background knowledge about what they're doing the weeks before. But what about somebody that's just joining for the first time and has no idea? I think that first tidbit that you gave us about a high and low is awesome. Can we get some more of that insider info?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, the other thing I would say is, sometimes looking at just shorthands with trainers. Carrie Bryan, obviously a trainer I tend to really trust in these sorts of spots. Leslie Young, another trainer who had a huge weekend last weekend there. I mean, those are 2 names that always stick out to me. So especially if I see a lower priced horse from either of those 2 barns, that's always a horse I'm going to want to use on the morning line. Because I also know that horse is probably going to get bet down a little bit. And Bri, you're muted. Just FYI.
Of course I am. That's why I raised my hand, of course. No, I'm just kidding. So now this is your second steeplechase event. So it's not as if you have been in this forever and ever and ever. You have learned these names from this media, from StableDuel, right? So you're not coming in as a season. So you pick this up as you play a StableDuel game here and sit and watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I played the contest last year and I played the contest last week, and that's it. And so, you try to pick that stuff up, and that's where it's important, Kelsey, to your point, like to follow along and to see, okay, my horse didn't win, but who did win, and do we see the same sort of trainers, the same sort of jockeys consistently finishing in the top 2 or top 3? The other tidbit that I'll give you is when you go on the StableDuel app and you look at past performances, one of the things that I always like to look at is horses' margin of loss, particularly in steeplechase, where some horses are 75 lengths defeated, and those are horses I am just not going to use. Even if there's a valid excuse for why that happened, I always like to look at horses, even when they lose, they lost by 3 lengths. Okay, I can live with that. I can live with a horse just getting 3 points taken off their total. What kills you is when you see a horse that loses by 100 lengths, or just a horse that's consistently either boom or bust or something like that. I tend to stay away from those types of horses a lot.
So I will bring up a horse details screen shortly so that we can point out what Matthew was just talking about.
So question on that one, Matthew. Do you treat jump racing any different to flat racing in the fact that there's going to be fallers, or hopefully there'll be the odd faller?
Mm-hmm.
You look at a horse's past performances that maybe fell or unseated a rider and look at that as a negative factor?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of look at it and treat it very similar to the way that I would treat with flat racing, like gait issues. If a horse just has a gait issue once and it's a one-off, you go, okay, like I can trust this horse's form previously, probably not going to be an issue. They'll probably get it cleaned up. It was just, horse freaked out for some reason or something like that. When it is, when you see it consistently happen, or if there's some sort of method to it, or some sort of rhythm to when this horse tends to fall or when this horse tends to have these issues, just like gait issues, that's when I tend to kind of toss those horses and decide not to use them.
Gotcha. Got it.
Okay, so here is a horse in race 2. We actually have a picture of this guy right here as well. Aww. Stud Muffin. So Senior Seville is 18 starts, 1 first, 2 seconds. And that is just a very easy way to see how many races the horses run, and then how many firsts, how many seconds, and how many thirds. You can look at speed rank, which is what the early speed means. So this is a little bit different in steeplechase racing. And value rank means, are you getting value for that horse by spending $5,000? So those are in comparison to the other horses there. But let's talk about what Matthew was discussing. So this horse last raced in March 25th at Aiken, and the horse got 7th place and was beaten by a significant amount of lengths. However, here's what I will say. That was the first race of the year. The last race was in November. So when Matthew said the second race back, this is his second race back here. So you could think that maybe he needed that for fitness or to get some of the jitters out or whatever it is. And so you're actually looking towards the end of the year, the horse was 3rd. You had a 3rd, a 5th, a 3rd, a 4th. So, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah.
Would you be putting this horse in your stable, Matthew, is the next question.
I don't know if I'd put him in my stable. I agree with you. I think second back, you're probably going to see an improvement there. And that is something I would probably take into consideration. He wouldn't be a toss, that's for sure. There's actually a horse, it's funny, in the last race 6, the number 6 horse, Fast Vision for the aforementioned Leslie Young. That's a horse that's only going to cost you $1,000.
I have the same one, Matthew. That jumped out at me.
Yeah, and what I love about this horse is you look at when this horse loses, with the exception of once in the last 5 races, it's typically really close up. And this is also second back from the layoff. Admittedly, it's a little bit of a step up in class, but this is a horse that went to a stakes race last time or 2 times out ago, finished 3rd, but only by 3.5 lengths. So for $1,000, I'm absolutely going to be using this horse for a barn that I absolutely trust as well.
And it's black and yellow, like you just said. You like
black and yellow. Yeah, no, there was a rap song like that. Like that. Yeah. So
just for anybody that I know, I have a lot of newbies joining for me right now. When you click on the actual horse, it takes you to all that detailed information. Because otherwise, I think some of us are like, "Wow, that's fantastic! Thanks for going through all this."
Yep. And this is also where you can see the jockey. I mean, you see it on this page. So you see trainer, which is the T. So this is where you'll see the Carrie Brian. Why do I keep doing that? Brian's World. I know Carrie's listening right now. So, and Leslie Young, we were just talking about. So that's the trainer. The jockeys are right here as well. Here's your price. And the price is based off of a morning line. So a morning line is the odds that is given to the horse. And that is the chances that the horse is winning according to an expert. Okay, so you're going to see that in horse racing if you transfer over to flat. Virginia Gold Cup as well will have odds, and I'm assuming they have live, so you'll see some of those change. But you're looking here at the prices, and the idea is a $7,000 horse is supposed to be more likely to win than the $5,000 and the $1,000. That is the premise of the prices. But what Matthew is saying is you can find value, especially if the horse wins. So we looked at his stable and he had a $3,000 horse that won. But you don't need to pick a $1,000 horse to win. I mean, that's icing on the cake. You just want to pick a $1,000 horse that does pretty darn good.
Yeah. And the other, obviously you're working within the $50,000 StableDuel salary cap. And so your average cost per horse is going to be around $5,000. So just always take that. That's one part of the reason I like to do the high low, kind of try to balance those things out a little bit. So I stay roughly within my budget of around $5,000 per horse. And, I know there was some people asking, and this is interesting because it's only a 6-race card. And so obviously you're going to have to double up in virtually every race. I would say there is a point of diminishing returns, though, in terms of like tripling up or quadrupling up in certain races that I do think, especially with the way steeplechase is, and sometimes the distance of and the margin of victory or the distance of defeat, that getting a 3rd place horse that might, the default is you get 30 points minus the margin of defeat. You might only start getting like 19, 18 points for that 3rd place horse. And, listen, if that horse only costs you $1,000, that's not bad. But if you're spending like $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 on a 3rd or 4th place horse, that's not a good return on investment. And so generally I would just, in this sort of a setting, I would just probably double up in most of my races where I'm doing that rather than tripling up.
So Matthew, in that there was eight races last week.
Mm-hmm.
You picked a winner. Did you try to pick a winner in all 8 races?
I tried to pick what I thought was going to be the best value in all 8 races. There were probably.
So there's no race you skipped.
No, there's no race I skipped. Although I'm not against that in bigger cards. I am absolutely not against that. Like if you don't have a good feel for a race, or if it's just like especially if it's a large field sometimes, and you're like, I just don't know where I'm going. Or if there's like a favorite who is going to cost $11,000 and you're not sold, but you're not really sold on other horses either. Like there's a lot of reasons to skip a race. And so I'm not against that at all. In this particular case, I felt like there was at least decent value to be had in every single race. So, I mean, listen, I was surprised by some of these horses winning. I can't say that I knew I was going to get 5 winners on the day, but I felt good about all the horses I used in that particular spot.
And is 5 winners a usual is that what it usually takes to win?
No. I would say usually it depends. One of the things I would say is staying away from negative numbers is like starting point number 1. And I would say that if you want to try to shoot for a point total, I always assume try to shoot for like 350 points. If you try to shoot for 350 points, that usually is enough to get you in the money at the very least on StableDuel. And sometimes it takes a lot. I mean, I was in a contest. What's funny is I think I was in a contest like the next day where I had 200 points, not particularly good. And I still managed to finish in the money because nobody did well that day at Keeneland. And so it was just one of those things. So like I said, 350 is usually the number that I shoot for and try to get. But that, that basically is like maybe 3-4 winners, get a few seconds, get a couple thirds, and you're right there.
Didn't you win a race? Didn't you win Keeneland like 2 days later?
Oh yeah, I did very well then Keeneland yesterday. So yeah.
Mind you, Matthew, you do lose. Like he doesn't. Yeah. You can't win all the time. There's been heaters. StableDuel players talk about this all the time. There's like a run of heaters that you can have, and then there's the complete opposite, like ebbs and flows, just in all gambling. So he doesn't win all the time. I mean, he's on a heater right now.
I'm on a heater right now, admittedly. I've seen the track pretty well at Keeneland this spring meet, which is unusual because last year's spring meet I was miserable at Keeneland. So, I do love Assiniboia. That was a track I did really well at. There are certain tracks that I think people do well at, and that's something which when you're playing it regularly, you see somebody playing a particular track, you're like, oh, that person's going to probably take down the pot because they're, Hawthorne Gym, is really good, when there's those Hawthorne contests and things like that. So, you just have your tracks that you're good at. And, steeplechase is one that I've also been fortunate that I've spent some of my life around horses and a lot of off-track thoroughbreds and a lot of people who do mounted fox hunting and things like that. And so I've been around steeplechase before in my life. So that's, I think, also just kind of helped maybe seep in through osmosis a little bit of what I should be looking at when I'm thinking about these races.
All right. Well, we do have Carrie coming on. So if anyone is listening and has a specific question for Matthew, we're going to hold him on because I think you would be happy to meet Carrie and say hi to her. So I figured we'd bring her in. Yeah. So Matt can say hi. And if you have any questions for Matthew.
She's won me a lot of money. I want to say hi and thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Please ask them now. We'll keep them on for a second. In the meantime, let's bring Carrie on. Carrie, how are you? Thank you so much for popping on. Nope. We can't hear you. You want to check your mic settings? She's checking. So Matthew, you had her in the Foxfield fall, and you had a couple other picks from the last one that did. Let me see here.
Yeah, the very first pick, the horse that actually won via DQ, if I'm not mistaken, Renistan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that was the one I had, but that was an example of like a $3,000 horse by a trainer I really trust. I'm going to use that. Like I mean, that's like, it's like a Todd Pletcher horse that's 8-1 on the morning line. Two things. One, that horse is going to get bet down, and two, I'm absolutely using this horse in StableDuel. So when you see those kind of big time connections, and that's why, like I said, it's important to pay attention to the races.
There she is. We can hear you. How are you, Carrie?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. We were just talking about your DQ win in the first race last weekend, how Matthew had that horse in his stable.
Yeah. So, Carrie, I just wanted to say thank you for helping me out and making me some money last weekend in the contest.
Thank my assistant. She wrote for it.
And what I will say is I had a very good friend of mine, shout out to my friend Lee Bennett, who was down at the Aiken steeplechase a little while ago. And he said, "Do you know anything about this?" And I said, I know Carrie. And I said, "You want to bet on her horses?" And he wrote back to me at the end of the day. He goes, "You really know your trainers. And so thank you for making me look smart to my friends. I appreciate that."
That was a good day. He would have liked me that day.
Exactly. So.
All right, Matt, I don't think we have any questions, but you've seen his Twitter down there. If you are listening and you are on Twitter and you want to follow him, shoot him a follow. He will be tweeting out. Are you coming? Are you coming Saturday?
Yes, I'm coming Saturday. What sort of yes, you asked me to come. I'll be there. Yes, I'll be there. I'm even going to go out and get a new jaunty cap, I think, for the event. So gotta look my best. Yeah, exactly.
So perfect. We have some vendors that are selling hats too. So
okay. Well, maybe I'll just wait. I love it. I might just wait to get one while we're there. So very good.
Perfect.
It's good talking to all of you.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care all. Bye.
Thanks, Matthew.
I actually feel like that was quite a knowledge drop. So that was good.
Yeah, there was some though that I was, man, goodness. Hey, Carrie.
Hey.
Well, we'll replay this all through tomorrow. So if people are listening, they get to pick up on Matt's tips tomorrow as well as Saturday morning. But speaking of tips, we might as well hear it right from the trainer's mouth. You have 1, 2, 3 horses in this Saturday at Foxfield. Am I missing any?
No, you're right. 3 at Foxfield, 6 at Queen's Cup.
Oh, all right. So which one are you going to be at? Are you going to be Queen's Cup?
I'll be at Queen's Cup. Yeah, I'll be at Queen's Cup.
Well, if you need me to give a leg up to a jock or a couple tips
one?
or, well, I don't know about riding. I'm still in my training.
We saw that video the other day, Bri.
I know. There's a jump there that looks like steeplechase. And actually in Kentucky, something was just posted and it's literally called steeplechase training. I think it's after Iroquois. So I might need to go. I don't know. I'm getting ready. For next year, that is. Well, let's talk about your horses here. So in the first race, which is a maiden claiming hurdle, so 2 1/8 miles. And again, it's the opener at Foxfield. So first race is at 12:30. You have Undercover Rowdy.
Steve's horse.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, Steve. You ask all the questions.
Come on, Carrie. I already asked Carrie the questions this morning. So Rowdy had a tough beat last time, Carrie, huh?
He did. He ran out, and that form is held, and he won't get beat on Saturday.
Ooh.
Not a hope.
Carrie?
It's a the last time I came on here, I said Cross Border wasn't getting beat. So
you did say that. And I think you told us he'll do as well last time you were on here.
He'll do. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did. The horse that Matthew was talking about, who he picked last week, Mr. Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Mr. Connecticut ran behind Rowdy last time out. So Rowdy's coming back. He got beaten on a head bob last time out.
Year layoff. I mean, that was a massive run. And we've probably, the claimers and jump racing, because the horse inventory is just not that big, I wouldn't really take too much consideration into what the claiming price is, because you basically just run your maiden claimers whenever there's a maiden claimer. The maiden claimer price at Foxfield is 15, and I think the price at Queen's Cup is either 20 or 25, and there's no difference in ability in class. It's just there's not enough horse inventory to really make the difference in claiming tag really that much different. So I wouldn't really pay too much attention to that. But I mean, Rowdy, he's had his soundness issues, but over the 2 years, I guess now that Steve's and Jimmy have had him, but he's doing really well now. And this is his race, really, I think.
Well, that's reflected in the price here. So you're looking at the StableDuel app. So Undercover Rowdy, the 2-horse here, $9,800. So if you're going to pay $9,800 for a horse, your as Matthew talked about, your value for that price would be that horse should win. And you're hearing it from Carrie that horse should win. So there you go, guys. If you need an expensive horse, it's the number 2 in race 1. She's handing it out right here. All right, well, let's go to your next one. So then we go to race 3 here, which is $25,000. This is a handicap for 4-year-olds and up, and rating 110. We talked about ratings in an earlier live stream. So if you want to learn about the ratings, go back to our YouTube and find that replay. But you have the 3-horse here, which is New Appointment, also an Irish bred. What do we like about this one? It actually, I think I see a name here of our next guest, Paul Willis. So it's all tying in.
Yeah. Paul filly. Yeah, look, she's a nice, solid filly. She runs well. She was 3rd in Camden in a 1:15. This is more her group. I will say she's run very well around this track to actually He'll Do and Please Call Me Back in the fall in the pouring down rain and the slop. And I think the weather is supposed to be the same this time around. They're calling for rain. Which
Day before. Tomorrow's going to rain.
Soft. So she will like the soft ground. Mel runs her. It'll be Mel's first time on her. She takes weight off her back, and she's a very easy filly to ride in a race. She's a great jumper. I think Mel will get along with her. She definitely is in with a chance for sure. She'll run a race. She always tries.
All right, let me pull that up. So team ladies, if you're looking for female jocks, you just dropped one. So on New Appointment here, we have Mel. How do you say Mel's last name?
Boucher.
We have Mel Boucher here, New Appointment, $7,000. So not lights out, but it is a little bit of a pricey horse. But I mean, that is a girl squad right there. You got a girl jock and a girl trainer, and you have a strong filly. So I like that a lot. All right. And then we've got one more here. So we go to the 4th race. You have the number 4 here. Is it Syad?
It's sad. We say, I don't really know how you say it, to be honest. Say it. Kind of like.
That's funny. Okay, another pricey horse. So what do we like about Sad here?
Yeah, he's another one. I don't see him getting beat. So I'd say he's probably between him and Rowdy, these two, I just don't see him getting beat. He's a great jumper. He was 2nd to the Hero Next Door first time out for the year. He had actually had off since summer. So he was coming off a long layoff. He ran a very good race that day. His jumping is touch wood. Very, very good. They're going to have to really be running and jumping. And he won in the slop at the Gold Cup. It was horrific ground conditions, and he loved every minute of it in the spring. So I don't worry about the ground. Yeah, it's his race to lose, I'd say.
All right. Well, there you go. So that's an $11,000 horse. So pricey. But again, if you're pulling off a win, and especially in steeplechase, if you're pulling off a win by a substantial margin of lengths, that can absolutely set you up on a leaderboard away from other people. So those are things to think about when you're paying higher prices. You know, Snap Decision was a higher price, didn't win by a lot of lengths, but was an easy win for the people that purchased in the StableDuel app. Kels, as you listen to Carrie thinking of building your stable, being a beginner in StableDuel, is there anything she said that you have a question on or is confusing? You know, where are you at with all the info she dropped?
Well, I'm trying to blend what Matthew said with what Carrie said, but then I keep picking expensive horses, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. So I'm over here trying to pick all my ones. I know I can't officially play, but it's tricky. It's really fun. And then I think once you get caught into it, it's always just like I start following a certain trainer or I start following a certain jockey. So it's great to get this insight from you all.
Yeah. And remember, if you click on the horse, you're going to pull up that horse details screen here. That can help give you a little bit added information. And some people do it differently. You know, some people might pick their top 2 higher priced and then build the stable from there. They might go through their value picks first, get 3 value picks, and then build their stable from there. I have seen a lot of new people from the first start is they like start building their stable from race 1 down, and by race 2, like they're out of money. So sometimes change it up, like go to the last race and build from that direction, or like pick, 2 hires and then fill it in. However you want to do it. Either way, you're always going to come to an outcome of having this bottom. Like Matthew left $1,200 on the board and won the game. So don't be afraid to leave money in your bankroll there. It doesn't mean that you haven't done the best efficiency as possible. It just, it's horse racing, guys. Like anything can happen. So if you're happy with your stable for whatever reason, you like the names, you like the colors, you like the jockeys, you like the trainers, whatever the value is, just have fun with it. And that's what StableDuel is for. And that's what these jump races are for. So, well, Carrie, what else? So last weekend was not your favorite.
No, last weekend sucked, but
that means that this weekend is going to be huge for you with Queen's Cup and Foxfield. That's what that means.
Yeah, like to be honest, we had some bad luck, and that happens in racing, and some of it you couldn't have scripted anyway. It's just one of those days. To be honest, we can joke about it. Obviously on the day, it's never fun. It's just a long day anyway. Even winning, it's a long day. So it's a long season. Like I'm really not that upset over it. Like horses have been running great. We had the winners at Aiken, and then we had nothing but seconds at Camden, and like actually a lot of those horses are running back now this weekend, so they'll have their chance to get their wins now. And Tryon was fine. The horses ran fine. Agitator was unfortunate, but first time starters, sometimes that happens, and last week was just bad luck. But we were on some really, really nice horses this weekend, Queen's Cup and Foxfield, both places. So, all of a sudden you have 4 or 5 winners on the weekend and everything's forgotten about. So I'm not too concerned.
All right. Well, let's have you give one tip to somebody if they're watching steeplechase for the first time or attending first time. What would be your one tip to like have the best experience ever? And I know I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't really, I'm more,
I know you're working every single one, but if you had a friend coming, you'd be like, go over here, do this, make sure you do that.
I don't know. I will say both Queen's Cup and Foxfield put on a great day for the fans. Like there's a lot of stuff to do, and they both do a really good job with like hospitality to owners and stuff like that. But I guess the biggest thing I would say is like at least take your time to watch at least one jump race. Like I know a lot of people that go racing, they might see the horses in the paddock, but they're not really paying attention to the jump racing. I would say actually watch these horses run and jump, because it's some spectacle. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And I noticed the last weekend was the first time I attended, and I am an eventer, which some people don't know what that is, but that just means I like do faux steeplechase at a terrible degree, much lower, whatever. But it was really cool to see what the track was. It's not really a track at all, right? It's a big field where the obstacles are, but it is legitimately like a field where you need to go here, you're going up a hill, you're going around a tree, you're going down, you're going over a water jump, you got to hit this hurdle, the timber's over here, don't worry about that. Like it really is an obstacle course, if you will, for these horses that are high-end athletes with their jocks riding them, navigating them, but there's a trust between both. It's completely different experience for a racehorse atmosphere that is really, green grass, I guess is the only way I can describe it, but it's green grass. Like they're out there in green grass, like running in their element. I don't know.
But like, exactly. But like, how cool is it then to see a 9-year-old $1 million earner like Cross Border go out and do that? That's the whole point. It's like, look, it's a whole nother career. They get their conditions back. It's really cool to see those horses. It's cool to see all the horses doing it, but like when you see a horse like Cross Border who's done it so successfully just around the track with a white rail going left and now going, up and down hills, like you said, it's cool.
Yeah, they switch leads on their own. It's crazy out there. You know what I mean? Well, and so Vintage Vinny, who we're going to talk about Maryland Cup a little bit here, but he's 13, isn't he, Steve?
Yeah. Okay. The timber horses seem to go, they have more longevity than the hurdle horses. They're going slower and farther and whatnot. But yeah, cool old horse for sure.
Yep. So 4-mile race over timber fences. That horse is 14 years old and is running in the Maryland Cup, which is also this Saturday, which is a steeplechase event, but is a little bit different because, Steve, tell me about the Maryland Cup.
Well, the biggest difference is the margin of victory by Vintage Vinny. And I said this last time because I watched the race and it astounded me. In 2021, he won by 96 lengths. So if you finish second in the stable duel behind Vintage Vinny, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
And then last year, he won by 54 lengths. So he's trying to win the race for the third time in a row. And actually, Kerry can fill me in a little more. I think Teddy Davies actually broke his collarbone.
He broke his collarbone in the Grand National. So Dan Nevin is actually over, who rode him in the first year, and he's riding it.
Yeah.
Vintage Vinny's thing is he goes as fast as he can over the first couple fences and just gets such a big margin behind the rest, the rest of the field behind him, that they can't catch him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't let him off quite as easy this year. We'll see.
I don't know if any of you are huge racing fans on the flat side, but if you remember Datara, you do? Okay. So I worked for Nick Zito when he was there, and that was his Belmont win, right? He just got far out. He just couldn't get caught. I mean, I don't think he had anything in him too much afterwards, but he won the Belmont Stakes that way. So, but Vintage Vinny's gotten away with it. But yeah, I mean, look at this horse, right? 14 years old, athletic AF, knows what's going on. So it'll be really exciting to see. And you'll be able to watch it in the StableDuel app, because the stream that comes in the StableDuel app is going to roll every single steeplechase race. So you'll be watching Foxfield, the Maryland Cup, as well as Queen's Cup as well. So might be confusing. Just look for Foxfield when you're watching your races, but it's kind of cool because you're watching multiple steeplechase races on the day. So you'll see Carrie down there at Queen's Cup, and you'll watch Vintage Vinny as well. Well, Carrie, we'll let you go. We have Paul Willis on next. Anything else you want to say? Well, good luck this weekend. I'm excited to see your runners, and I'm sad to be missing you, but I saw you last weekend, and Iroquois maybe is the next one I'll see you at, maybe?
Yeah, Iroquois. You're at the Gold Cup or no?
No, that's Kentucky Derby Day, unfortunately. Right. So I gotta do that one. But I will be watching on my phone. I'll be watching the StableDuel app.
Yeah, Iroquois, you can get in Undercover Rowdy's win picture. Steve said it's okay.
Yes, please. Can you do that for me, Bri?
If you're begging me, I will be in a winner's circle.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, Carrie. Good luck this weekend.
All right, Carrie.
Take care.
Well, that was awesome. I mean, she just gave out 2.5 winners.
2 locks, yeah.
So great. I've been doing my stable right here. I'm like following along with all these tips. I don't want to lose this important information.
Well, hopefully we'll get some more tips here, because the horse that she talked about in race 3, we're bringing on one of the owners, and that is Paul Willis. Paul, how are we doing? Thank you so much for popping on.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I've been enjoying listening to all of you.
You guys are in real trouble now. You got 2 people from Newcastle.
Yeah. So Steve's got his Newcastle shirt right behind. Mine's stuck in the corner over there.
We're both from the same hometown, so you're all.
So does that mean, though, that you have the same football team overseas?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
We wouldn't talk.
We won 4-1 tonight.
Just making sure. I mean, I thought little punches would come out. You never know. Well, Paul, thanks for tuning in. You've got that horse in the 3rd race, Anticipating, right? That's who we were talking about. Or no, excuse me, New Appointment. What are you excited most about New Appointment running on Saturday?
Well, we brought her over last year from Ireland. She's the only horse that we've sent from Ireland to England. She was only there for a month, and then we brought her straight over, and she won first time out at Colonial Downs. So she ran in a decent race at Camden, finished 3rd. She was beaten a fair bit, but she still ran a decent race. So like Kerry said before, she's very genuine. She can be a little bit of trouble at the start. So as long as she goes off in front, I think the biggest excitement I have, we've had a female jockey on our horses before, but we've never actually had a winner. And I know Mel, I know her father, Richard, and she's a very competent jockey, and so I'm excited to see the horse run well. I'm just disappointed I'm going to be at Queen's Cup for the first time. So, Kelsey, I promise you, in the fall I will come down to Foxfield. That's the first racetrack we ever had a horse run in America. So
oh, good. Well, Queen's Cup is beautiful. They've done a great job. Enjoy, and we'll see you in October.
Yeah.
So, Bri, Paul actually, and one of the reasons we brought Paul on is he runs what's called Atlantic Friends Racing. And they have another runner at the Queen's Cup. They have, in the fourth race, they have Lacey Underall. That's correct, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah, she is American. So we were actually introduced to her by Kerry, and being in a syndicate, I just put the word out to all of the owners. They obviously have a lot of trust for Kerry. They have a lot of trust in me, and we decided to take a chance with her. So she's going there on Saturday. It's kind of a second career for her. She hadn't done particularly well on the flat. If you look at her 2 flat runs, she was nothing electric or anything like that, but she looks an absolute $1 million now, and we're hoping that she's going to have a second chance at being a steeplechase horse. So excited to see her run. I've not seen her at the racetrack before. I've only seen her in the stable, so excited to see her have a go.
So syndicates in steeplechasing has got to have the same premises on the flat racing side, but if people don't know what that means at all, would you explain what a syndicate ownership group is in the horse racing atmosphere?
Well, when I was a kid growing up in England, my dad was a bookie, so I used to go to the races all the time. So if I had said to you, or you had said to me back in the day I was going to own a racehorse, I would have said to you that I would need to be absolutely filthy rich, which is absolutely not true. So the syndicate part comes into it when you want to try and get involved in horse racing, which we started in England. And to make it work, I literally went and reached out to friends, of which Steve is one of them. And together we put together a little sum of money. It wasn't a lot. I shouldn't say it wasn't a lot. It's not like millions of dollars or anything like that, and or thousands of dollars even. But we ended up getting several horses to kick us off, and it's just a way of getting into racing, as opposed to thinking you need an awful lot of money to start to buy a horse. Then you've got all of the cost of the expenses. And if you can share it around, then it actually makes it manageable. And I'll also say this, Bri, when we started, when you look at the jumps racing, the vast majority of jumps horses are geldings. So they're not colts. You're not buying a horse that's hopefully going to go off to the stud farm. So it's a lot less expensive. We've had our biggest success both in England, Ireland, and really in America, if you look at Jimmy P, with horses that we've got off the flat and given them a second chance at a jumps career. So the biggest thing for us is just sharing the costs out. I will say this to you, we're Atlantic Friends Racing. That is very, very important, that middle word called friends. So they are not machines. Trainers aren't God. Trainers don't know everything. I know Kerry
does.
Kerry's quietly confident this weekend, which she should be. But it's when you're with friends, you have a certain level of expectation. So our main goal is if we can buy a horse and that horse can pay its way with its monthly fees, win a race here and there, and then you take in all of the enjoyment with the races, then that's really a huge win for us. And the last thing I would also say about being in a syndicate is also the fact that even though I haven't been to Foxfields and I'm going to Queen's Cup this weekend, my favorite American track is Saratoga. I think I'd probably be speaking for a lot of people. But to actually go to the meets, such as Middleburg this past weekend, the Carolina Cup, they are out of this world, out of this world. The hospitality, friendliness of the people, everybody being dressed up. So that is a major part of what the syndicate is all about. It's not just having a horse, it runs, it wins, it loses. It's the whole experience. And I have to compliment the NSA in the fact that, you know, we were stuck with horses in England and I knew nothing. Steve was the one that tipped me off. And then, you know, we brought a horse over. We brought a couple of horses over as part of the syndicate. Everybody agreed to give it a try. And really, we've never looked back.
You thought I was insane, remember?
Yeah.
I kept saying we should send a horse to Saratoga. And they were kept saying, let's go to France. Let's go to France. And I'm like, no, the real money's in America. And then Paul, I came up with the idea, and then Paul just put the plan together like he does, the mastermind.
I've noticed that, you know, again, even my first steeplechase event, and especially if you have a runner, I mean, you're there with your friends, with your family, you're tailgating, and it's just like, again, Kentucky Derby is next weekend, and don't get me wrong, the Kentucky Derby is this massive thing, but it's tough to go to. It's expensive to go to. You're fighting for seats, space, beer, wine. There's something fantastic about the steeplechase races. You bring your own spread. You enjoy it. There's also hospitality. If you don't want to bring your own spread, you can get a tent. It is just a high-end tailgate experience with your best friends. And even if your best friends didn't go with you, the next tailgate, they're going to be your best friends because that's what the atmosphere is all about. And I know that some of the people, you know, what Carrie said is, you know, you think some of the people aren't watching the races. I walk through the tailgates and horses pass by and people are holding little sheets of paper as they're playing with one another. And they're like, well, hang on, which horse got up for second? You know, where did my horse finish? And it's just a really cool, fun atmosphere, almost like back in like the 30s and 40s where there was like a bookie just taking papers from you. It's kind of nuts. And imagine having a runner. So I think it's great. Well, so if someone was interested in getting into a syndicate, not just yours, but a syndicate in general, or getting into the steeplechase world, what would be one thing that you would say to them, or one tip or piece of advice?
Well, I'd certainly say if you were getting into the stock market, that you're not getting into the stock market just for, you know, having a few giggles and a few laughs. You're doing that strictly for an investment. This investment is hopefully you can do well, but you can't substitute the experience that you have. 1 with your horses, 2 with your friends, 3 with the type of meets that they put on. And when I did Atlantic Friends Racing, so it's funny, Steve and I have a lot in common in that we own horses individually. So I have horses with Molly, my wife. Steve has horses. I think he had them originally himself, but now he's with his mate Jimmy. They've got horses, and then we're involved with horses where there's 4 of us in. So even though that's not, you know, a name necessarily of a syndicate, the fact that, you know, we've got several horses that we all have 25% each of, that's a fantastic banter. And then, you know, watching your horse go. I mean, Kerry, I know everybody tries to jump on Kerry about being the social media this and social media that, but I can tell you that she is resilient in terms of keeping her owners in touch with the. I mean, I live in New Hampshire, so for me to get to Fair Hill is at least a 7-hour drive. And I'm not lying. I would argue every day, every other day, I've got pictures of the horses training, having a carrot, doing this, that, and the other. So if I would say the biggest thing is not to call me and say, oh, I want to be in your syndicate, da-da-da-da-da. I would argue, get together with a few friends and just say, hey, what would it be like to be able to own a horse? And you know, you can, I mean, this horse is running, Lacey's running this weekend, Clayman races, Rowdy's running in a race, you know what I mean? So you can pick horses up for relatively inexpensive money compared to, say, the flat. And if you've got, you know, 3 or 4 of you, pick a trainer and hopefully you can have a little bit of fun with it. Whether it's your colors, we take turns with our colors. So I think Agitair goes next week to the Gold Cup. I think it's Steve and Jimmy's turn with CFC Stables. Agitair ran in my colors the last time. So it's really, I would argue with people listening that it's not a case of trying to find a syndicate. I would seriously ask them the question, try and grab a few friends and have a go, and, do it with some restraint in terms of your money. And then as you go along, we've picked up friends. Steve knows plenty of people in the horse business. Kerry, I've got friends in Ireland that I trust, because I would argue Steve and I are not experts at picking out horses and lineage and all of that kind of thing. But it's not difficult to do, particularly when you're dealing with jumps horses. It's really not a lot of money compared to some of the really expensive horses that run on the flat.
Well, I think with your accents, everyone would think that you know everything about horse racing. So you should just sell that and run with it. But, well, thank you, Paul. Good luck this weekend. We appreciate you popping on and the knowledge, and I'm excited to see what your horses do. And yeah, it's very nice to meet you.
Well, many thanks to you. And I want to give kudos out to StableDuel as well. It's much needed, because that adds a lot to the excitement. And I was at Middleburg last weekend, and you could tell there was a bit of a buzz in the air. Not from me, unfortunately, but there was a buzz in the air.
So I was giving away T-shirts to anyone that showed me that they played in the app. So I guess I didn't run into you, because I would have had a T-shirt for you.
Yeah, well, next time.
Yep. All right, Paul. Well, thank you. Have a good evening.
Take care. Good.
Take care.
Well, speaking of T-shirts, so we will be out at Foxfield this weekend. You can see flags flying of StableDuel in a booth. And where are we at? We're in the vendors area. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
So we'll be in the vendors area. So look for the StableDuel tent. If you have the StableDuel app on your phone and you show me that you are live in the Foxfield game, you get a dang T-shirt. It is that simple. You win twice, hopefully. You're going to win some cash, but you win a T-shirt and you get to hang out with friends and watch Foxfield live. So I'm very excited to be there. So look for the StableDuel tent in the vendors area. We will be there at the gate open at 9 a.m. And again, the first post is at 12:30. Get your stables in by first post. We have over 250 stables already in the game right now, and we're 2 days out, guys. So it's gonna be exciting.
And Kelsey, is this the big meet where you get a lot of the college kids?
We do. Yeah. We have a great deal of students from local and then all the way up through DC that come and join us.
Perfect. StableDuel was made for these guys.
Yeah, and we'll be walking around before first post and getting people to sign up. So if you were there and you aren't sure what to do and you see us walking around, we're there to help, and it'll just be a great day. But I'm super excited. 6 races on the Foxfield card with exciting horses. You met a trainer, you met an owner here. Steve is also an owner, but follow him on Twitter. He posts results, he posts tips, he posts interviews. And then Kelsey out here is doing all the hard work behind the scenes for the Foxfield event. So I'm excited. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it. Go Rowdy. That's all I can say.
Go Rowdy. Go Rowdy. I know. There is there's another winning name. Booby Trap in the last race. I would pick that on the name. Yankee Doodle Boy, I have a picture of too. Hold on, I'm gonna throw that picture up since I think people sometimes need to see the pictures of horses if they want to pick them. Yankee Doodle Boy, right? Look at that stuff. Beautiful. So here's some other horses. This is 301. This horse is in the second race. Yankee Doodle Boy is in the third race. We've got West Newton here, which is in
Upland Flats. That's in the last race. That's Patrick Lewis's horse.
Okay, and then we showed this one earlier as well. So lots of exciting things here. We talked about syndicates. If you have any questions, ask Steve. There are a lot of great trainers out there. We got Leslie Young. We had Sandra Webb, who had 2 horses in her watch, and by the way, won both with both horses. So lots of great up-and-coming horse trainers. Jack Fisher is an oldie but a goodie. And I only say oldie in the fact that he's been doing this for a long time, and trainers have come up underneath him.
The hottest trainer at the moment is Ricky Hendricks.
Ricky Hendricks.
He's 7 runners this year. He's had 5 winners. I believe he has a runner in the 1st and the 6th race at Foxfield.
Okay.
Noted.
Ricky Hendricks. So there you go. If you need to pick off the connections, you've got Mel. I am terrified to say last names because of Carrie's. And now I think I don't even know if I'm saying hers the right way or the wrong way because, oh my gosh. I'm just going to say first names.
When you're asking me to pronounce names, you're in real trouble. I believe it's Mel Boucher. I think
it is. It is. But for some reason, and maybe it's your accent, I want to be like Boucher, you know?
That's
like
the same.
bouge it up.
All
right, guys, we're tuning out. We're almost on the dot. This is like the best show, minutes and minutes and minutes. And we will be tweeting this out and everything so you can tune in all day tomorrow and watch the replay for all the tips and all the fun. But thanks, guys. Good night. We'll see you on Saturday.
Good luck. Good luck.